411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
When I hear of someone who is 90 years old or older, I think, wow, I bet they have some stories to tell. You know, I can just imagine the changes they've seen in the world. And you can just imagine the lessons they've learned in their lives and the impact that they've had on other people. All of those things. Well, I am going to be talking to someone who has lived it, who can tell it, and who is a great storyteller. And this is a story, as you listen, you will hear it's about resilience, activism, and an unwavering faith. Hello, everyone. I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live, Real People, Real Talk. I am really, really excited about my guest today. I've known this man for a while. I see him at church. We wave hello. But in preparing for this, I've learned things about him that I did not know. Very interesting things. So let me just bring him in. Let me introduce you to 95-year-old William Wattleton. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is so great to see you.
Thank you very much.
It's good to be seen, right?
Right. To be alive.
Tell me, first of all, tell me why is it important for you to kind of tell your story?
Well, I've been asked a lot of things, and I'm able to remember it, and I'm able to tell it.
Yeah. Just kind of looking back at your life, like, before I came to Milwaukee to work, you know, I got the job at Fox 6 as an anchor reporter. Before that, I was living in Huntsville, Alabama, you know, doing the same thing in the same industry. And then to find out that you were born in Alabama.
Right. Anniston, Alabama.
Anniston, Alabama. And I've been to Anniston, and I know it well. So that surprised me. That I felt like we had a little connection there. But then I go back and just kind of starting from the beginning. Okay, you were born in Anniston, Alabama, but your family co-founded a little city, a little town in Alabama, Hobson City.
Alabama.
And as I was reading, I understand that it's Alabama's first self-governed, all-black municipality.
Right.
And I think it was formed or incorporated in 1899.
1899.
Tell me, how did this happen?
Well, before that, it was like a quarter. I think it was owned by the Indians. And the white people didn't want any people live in Oxford. That was adjacent city to that. And most of the black live in this area, quartered area. And it was no government, there was no kind of training. And so what happened, the people decided to get together. They got more intelligent and more educated. And they formed their own government in 1999. That's when they got the charter.
Right.
But it was named after Richard Person Hobson.
Okay.
He was an army person, and it was during the Spanish War. And then after that, after become a corporation, and the city got their own government, and before they formed it, anyway, they kind of trained people to do different things, and it wasn't self-government. And what happened, my family, which was Lewis Wattleton, well, I traced his foundation. What happened, he came from England to South Carolina, and I don't know how he got to South Carolina to Hobson City, Alabama, but his daddy was a slave, and that's how he lived in Hobson City, and all of them was before the charter, 1899. they were farmers. All they could do is farm.
Yeah.
And they owned self-government. And my uncle was telling me about my grandfather. Now, this is a story that I was told. He was the youngest son of my grandfather's. My father was the oldest. And he was trying to bring up to date in history. So what happened, he told me about grandfather was interviewed by William Wallace, which was the governor of Alabama. And it's in the archives in Alabama. He said that Grandpa Lewis used to be the sheriff, or policeman rather, and people used to get in trouble just to get in jail to taste beef stew and apple pie. And I thought that was real good. So he said it was in the archives in Birmingham, Alabama. And he said, I look at it, and I've been several times to Birmingham, Alabama, and it's closed on the day I was there, and I wasn't able to get that information. But one day I plan to go down Montgomery and seek that information.
Yeah. So your great-grandfather was the police officer.
Yeah.
And your great-grandmother, she was the cook.
Cook.
And so folks would want to go to jail just to eat her food. Oh, my gosh. I was talking recently to the current mayor of Hobson City. She was telling me, and then, of course, I was looking it up. And what I understood was that, like you said, this quarter, I think it was called Morey Quarter, and it was a part of Oxford.
Yeah.
But in that area, black folks voted.
Yeah.
And they had a strong bloc.
Yeah.
So they voted in a black justice of the peace.
Yeah.
And I guess the mayor of Oxford said he wasn't having that, went to the state and had it kind of de-annexed, take that part out of Oxford. And so then it became Hobson City, governed by black people. Black people live there, which is just a great story. So you have this, your family, co-found a whole city, and then you leave. Now you left Alabama. What, like your senior year of high school, where you joined the Army?
Senior high school, yeah.
Okay, how was that? Is this World War II or?
War number 2.
Okay.
What happened, I wanted to go in at 17 years old, but my mother had no way of signing me for that. She didn't want me to go.
She didn't want you to go.
So when I got 18, I joined the Army. I tried to go in each one of them. I tried to go Marines, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and finally the Army accepted me. And I went in the Army, and I had not finished the 12th grade, so I had to come back and finish. But I went in, I stayed 3 years, and I got a chance to go half around the world before I was 21 years old.
How was that for a kid from Alabama?
Different altogether. It was an education. I think if any young man undecided what he wanted to do in his life, he should take an Army tour. And I'd never been out of Alabama, well, since I was young, but I was about 8 years old, because when I was younger, how I got back to Alabama, my father and mother left when they got married and went to Chicago. And they lived at 4828 St. Lawrence in Chicago.
You still remember it.
And then they went back to Alabama. Well, what happened, they went back to Florida, because her mother, which is my grandmother, she had a home in Alabama, and she lived by herself. And so she had a sister live in Jacksonville, Florida, and he worked on the railroad. He worked on the railroad, Seaboard Railroad, and it runs from Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, to Chicago every other day. And she told him, she said, when you go back to Chicago, you bring Willie back. And so my uncle, he was a real fair guy. He looked something like an Indian. He probably looked like part white, And all these years, they had a rumor out that a white man come and got my mother and took her back to Alabama.
Oh, wow.
And so my uncle, he lived in Jacksonville, Florida. So he took us back to Florida, and we took a bus from Jacksonville back to Anniston, Alabama. Well, Hobson City at that time. And that's where he lived for many years. What happened over the years, I got a chance to eat my great-great-grandfather. My great-grandfather, he lived in Lexington, Kentucky. And he came home. He told my grandmother that he wanted to come home to die. And so he came home with striped pants and high top hat, and like a tuxedo, and we waited for him to come. It took him several days to come because he traveled in a one-horse buggy, and the horse buggy was slow walking, and so one day, me and my sister was playing in the yard, and we seen him coming. We ran, jumped up and down, and so happy to see him. So we went in the house and told my grandmother and mother, and they come out and seen him coming up the street, And the horse was so tired, he was real slow coming up the street, And so when we got there, we were so amazed at the horse,
Right.
And so we looked at the horse all that afternoon. And next morning, we went to bed and got up. That horse was gone. The horse and buggy was gone. We wondered, what happened to the horse and buggy? And so what happened, he had sold it. He told us he had sold it. And so about 3 or 4 days, a lot of activities going around the house. We had a lot of relatives coming from Florida, and my mother's sister, she lived in Chicago. She came to Chicago, and we all had a lot of family. In this little shotgun house, it had 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a living room. And I don't know how all these people stayed in that one little house, little shotgun house. And so, but in the yard, we had a big old tree, oak tree in the center of the yard. And the center of the yard was, we had on one corner, well, she sold, she had chickens, and one side she had a garden. And then the center of the house was like a recreation area, and it had a big old oak tree. And they had a great big picnic table. And so everybody was getting together, they preparing to have a feast, in the big picnic table. And so what happened, one day, particular day we started out, my grandmother asked me, William, come on out and help me. I said, do what? She said, go in the kitchen, catch the chickens. And I run and get the chicken, him up in the corner, bring him back. She'll hold the head and the tail. And she said, no, this is quite not enough. Get that one right there. And I run the corner and him up and get that one. And then she said, no, this won't make it yet. So I run and get 3 chickens. And she would wring the heads off, hold by the head and tail, wring them up and put them in the tub, but they be dropping them down,
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, God. And I walk away. And so after a while, I see him pull the feathers off the chicken. And on the other end of the yard, my uncle, they had a possum. And they had this possum, and my uncle had him by the tail and head, and they put this stick across his neck and pulled him till he broke his neck. And they skinned this possum, and I didn't see him more until he was on this table. His 4 legs sticking up, and they had sweet potatoes and gravy and onions in them. So they all get a real praying family. And what happened? We all got around, circled, and said grace, and I kind of wandered away, and so my mother and my grandmother said, "Come on, William, we got to eat. Come on." I said, "No, Grandma, I'm not hungry. I couldn't eat. I seen them chickens killed,
Right.
and I seen that possum killed. I couldn't eat none of that food. I only eat pie and cake."
Oh, my goodness. So, all right. So let's talk. You joined the Army, senior in high school, spent 3 years. So you're seeing a whole environment that you hadn't seen before. So you're expanded your experiences now. Then you come back. Did you come back to Hobson City from the Army?
Yeah, I came back, and I come back to Anderson, and I went to high school. They had a veteran high school, and they had an acceleration program. I was able to go to there and finish my go to the 12th grade. And when I finished the 12th grade, I did it earlier than we supposed to. And what happened, I applied for different schools, like University of Minnesota. I was an engineering outfit too as an Army. That's why I wanted to be an engineer. And I applied for different schools like Fisk University, Tennessee State, University of Wisconsin, Minnesota, because I had a teacher that taught it. Well, she went to school in Minnesota. And so Minnesota, the first one, turned me down. And I told my mother the first one accept me, and I applied for Marquette. So Marquette accepted me. So I came in August 1950, and I came in. It was called Milwaukee Road. I arrived at Milwaukee Road. And I asked them, the receptionist, I said, how do I get to Marquette University? She said, well, are you a pre-student? I said, yes. She said, schools are open to the 15th of September. She said, well, I said, no, where am I going to stay? So she said, I'll find you a place. So she said, well, we have people that help students like you. And so she drew me out a map where to go. And it was on 4th in Michigan. And I had to go walk to 2000 block on 5th Street. And I just followed the map, and I went to this lady's house, and she was an old lady from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And she didn't open the door. I rang the doorbell. She come to the door, and she talked to me through the screen door, and she I really understand her accent. She said, yes. I said, who are you? And I told her who I am. I told her who sent me, And she asked me all about my family, asked where I come from, and who was my mother, my father, and all this stuff, And then she opened the screen door and let me in. And she sat on the sofa right beside her, and she said, William, I don't cook. And she said, now, you may get a meal about Friday and maybe Sunday, but don't count on it. And she said, I'll show you how to get a meal ticket. And you can eat twice a day on that. And she said, I got a room for you now. It's $6 a week. And she said, don't make up your bed on Friday. And she said, I'm going to clean the room up every Friday. And, and so that's what I did. And so what happened? She said, now you can get downtown. The ticket that costs 50 cents, and you can ride all over the city and transfer anywhere you want to go. And so I got to that point, and then I was able to travel around.
Okay.
Like I want to.
Very cool. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about you were involved in a lawsuit that affected a lot of people's lives. So stay with us. You're listening to the 411 Live. Real people, real talk.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I wonder if you know that I want the best for you. But how long will you fight solo? I wonder if you know that we can get help. Not wondering anymore. Love your mind.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. I am talking with William Wattleton, 95 years young. We were previously talking about, where you grew up, and we talked about you going to Marquette. Now we're going to jump a little bit ahead and talk about your time at Laddish, because you got in Laddish, you're working there, and you noticed some disparities. What did you see?
I happened to get to Laddish. My brother's father-in-law was working there. I was looking for a job, and I had applied for the fire department. Nobody had called me, and I needed a job. So I had gotten married. I didn't finish school. I didn't finish Marquette either, but I had a lot of experience by working as a student at Marquette. And then I got a job at Laddish. Now, me and my friend, Edward Thomas, we took the test at the same time, and he got called before I did. And so what he did, I went to Laddish, and in 2 days I made more money than he did, and he worked for a whole month.
So tell me what happened when you saw the pay at Laddish?
I walked around and seen a lot of people, young guys, and they were making $300 a week, and I learned how some of the white guy was making $1,100, $1,200 a week and $1,800 a week. And I couldn't figure it out. How come they were making so much and they doing the same kind of job?
Right.
And so what happened? I went around and talked to several guys. I said, man, you know how much that guy, I said, point it out. I said, you know how much that guy made? That guy made more money than you do, about 3 times as much money you do. I said, look, you know what, man, we should do something about that. So I kept talking to different guys. And so after I got the guys together, I got a number of guys together, and I told them to meet me at the YMCA on 12th Street. We went to 12th Street, so I talked to all of them. I told them about some of the things, a lot of things they didn't know. And so I had found it out, so I had went to another lawyer, Dr. Dale. He was a civil rights lawyer downtown. He told me a lot of things. And then we had another meeting, and I got all the guys together, and there were 257 guys at Laddish, and I was able to get 127 of them together.
Oh, wow.
Half of them didn't believe what we were going to do, and, some of them, like some of the skeptics in doubt about they were going to lose their home if they sued the company and all this stuff. And so what happened, I got an attorney downtown. He was with the civil rights thing, and he was leaving and going to somewhere to teach somewhere in Tennessee or somewhere. And what happened, he told me about these 3 attorneys. So I looked for 3 attorneys, one in California, one in Washington, D.C., and one in North Carolina. And so the first one I wrote is in California. He told me it's going to be quite expensive, and he wouldn't be able to. I don't think we'd be able to do that. So the next one told me the same thing in Washington, D.C. So I talked to the guy. I just got a letter from the guy in North Carolina. He had won 29 cases out of 30 cases in the Supreme Court of North Carolina.
So you got that guy?
I got that guy.
Okay.
And so what happened, he told me, he said, you sound like you got an interesting case. So he told me that he was meeting the mayor of Gary, Indiana, and would I meet him in Chicago? And so I had talked to all the guys, and we had took up some money already. We kept the money in deposit, bank deposit.
Okay.
We just took the savings. We just took the interest money and paid our bills off.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to push you forward because we're about to run out of time. But this case went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. We first went after 27. We had 127 people. So we went to court to trial. I formed a committee where we had 9 people. And we voted that way, and so 6 of them voted not to go to trial, and so we had to settle out of court. We settled out of court, and so what happened? The judge said we got a good case and we won, but that's the way they want to go. But he said you got to settle with the other 127 people. So we had to go back and reformulate the kind of things we settled with to be fair. And so we did. And so what happened, it was 7 unions at this company, and so all of them gonna settle except one, and this one didn't want to go, and so what happened? They appealed it, and they went to district federal court in Illinois, and we won that case, and they went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court here, and they said they're right, so we won. The Supreme Court gave us the right to go. That's how we won the Supreme Court, and it's in the archives. You can look up Wattleton versus Laddish. And you can find all the information about that.
So the outcome was the pay was equal?
No, well, the pay wasn't equal. But what happened? They was able to get in some of the unions that they weren't able to get in, and they was able to get the kind of money they get.
Gotcha.
And we're able to transfer about 5 people. It took us 14 years to do that. And after 14 years, a lot of jobs had disappeared a little bit, but some of them still were able to get in there. You got the electricians, 2 of the die makers, and heat treat, and different kind of chemical things. People were able to train to do the job without going to college.
Wow. What gave you the courage to pursue that?
Well, I don't know. I always been civil-minded. You know, when I was in Alabama, when I was going to the veteran school, I never did like certain things that go around. And I was in his classroom one time, and this guy come around, and he said, running for mayor. He had a big hat, big brown hat on, big hat, and he said, running for mayor. And I was by Wattleton, you know, we sat by alphabet. I sat in the back room, and he said, and I got up. I said, I got up and I asked him, what could he do for us? He said, well, we're gonna have the lights turn on in the park where you can play late at night. I said, how that's gonna help us? And boy, Ed, I said, man, what you talk to this guy? Don't talk to that guy like that. I said, well, he asked me. I say, well, he can't do nothing for us, you know. I say, he's telling us that. So what I did, I went around to each classroom, and I asked them, each teacher, I think of about 9 classrooms, and I went around to each classroom and talked to each teacher, and I asked them, would they, we going to vote? I said, can we go on a vote in a group? And we went in a long line of all veterans. And we went to march to the nearest fire station where we voted in our precinct. And everybody and the cars would come by, honking the horn, and they didn't know what I was honking about. So one guy come by and he said, hey, what? He said the word niggas. He said, what them niggas line up for? He said, going to vote. He said, they veterans. He said, well, don't mess with them.
Don't mess with the veterans, right? When you think of, today, when you have people who won't vote, what do you think of that?
I think it's an awful thing because, I remember people were just shot down because they go register to vote. And some people that were never able to vote, a lot of guys died not being able to register to vote.
Yeah.
And see, a long time ago, I know in Alabama, you couldn't vote unless you had paid poll tax. Yep. And you had to own property to pay poll tax. And you couldn't vote. And when I come to Milwaukee, I made sure I registered to vote and everything, and a lot of things I didn't like too. I didn't like, we couldn't go certain places. You couldn't buy a house somewhere. And I went with Father Graffi I talked to Father Graffi, and I went to Father Graffi, marched with Father Graffi over that 16-track Viaduct. And I had 2 young kids, and we walked halfway over there, and we couldn't go across 16th Street Viaduct.
Right.
And I didn't, and my mother and all of them told me, don't take the kids, don't take a chance of kids. So I didn't go no more.
That was the open housing march.
Open housing park.
Okay.
They would let you couldn't go certain places in the city.
So the bottom line is folks need to exercise their rights that they have. All right. Well, listen, we've run out of time.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. I told you it was going to go really fast, and it really did. You're a dream. I mean, you have many stories to tell. You've lived a great life.
Yeah.
And there are so many things that we didn't touch on that we could have. So I thank you for coming in and talking with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope it's informative.
It was. It was. My guest, 95-year-old Mr. William Wattleton. Thank you again. And thank you for joining us for another episode. Remember, we are a nonprofit organization. So if you feel so inclined, go to our website, the411live.org, and you can help us out. Until next time, I'm Beverly Taylor. This is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.